Hello everybody and welcome to another Destiny build video. Today we have a pretty insane build, and this one's going to allow you to just throw knives to your heart's content. I'm talking Blade Barrage Super and literally basically an infinite amount of melees. So this build is extremely fun. You'll have Radiant upkept all the time. You're going to have Restoration as well. You'll be able to get Cure as well from our grenade, which will be a healing grenade, and or our weapon if you happen to put on heal clip. This build will also let you throw gunpowder gambles as another source of weapons, and it is extremely powerful. You're going to get your super back too very fast, in probably like 10 to 20 seconds maximum, depending on how many enemies are there in front of you. And you're going to be able to just throw that super, go ahead and get more kills with your melee, aka your throwing knives, which will just get refunded on every kill. Available will also be your gunpowder gamble, so you can throw that in the mix as well. Then throw some more melees, because they'll just infinitely come back. Throw your super, because you'll get it back insanely quick, and just completely redo the process. So I'm going to show you how to make it right now. So to make this build, we're going to start over here with our exotic, which is going to be the Shards of Galanor. Shards of Galanor is going to make it so that our throwing knife final blows will decrease the cooldown of our super. Hits and final blows with Blade Barrage will return super energy after the super ends, up to a maximum of 50%. So this is how we're going to get our super back like crazy, because our throwing knives are going to give us a ton of cooldown back to our super. And of course, our Blade Barrage is pretty much almost always going to refund itself to 50%. Now for our stats, you're going to want a high class, super, and melee, since those are the three that we're going to be focusing on in this build. So you're going to want class to be around a 100, 90 is fine as well, maybe 85, that's fine. For your melee, you're going to want it to be up around the 70 to 100 range, and for the super, you're also going to want this to be around 100, but it doesn't not need to be 100. If it's around 70, 80, then that is fine. So you're going to want class to be your number 1, melee to be your number 2, even though these are basically both your number 1. You're going to, if you can get them both to 100, or both to 70, 80, then that would be pretty good. And super be your third main stat. Now for your weapons, you can put on any solar weapon. As you can see, I actually forgot to even put an exotic on when I ran that mission that you saw just a second ago. But I did have a Drang on with incandescent and heal clip. And this one does really good. So any solar weapon will do. Obviously, this is because of a fragment that we'll get to when we get into our subclass. But anything will do. And that goes for exotics as well. You can put on Vex Mythoclast, Ariana's Vow, Sunshot, and any other solar weapon that you want. So moving on up to our subclass, we're going to be running full pure solar. So Gunslinger is going to be where you want it. Now for your super, we're going to use Blade Barrage. This is obvious because Blade Barrage is what is affected by Shards of Galanor, and that is what's going to allow us to refund our super and also get a ton of super energy back on throwing knife kills. So we're going to want Blade Barrage. Now for the dodge, we're going to want Gambler's Dodge. Gambler's Dodge is going to refund us back our throwing knife energy on a use. So that's why we're going to want Gambler's Dodge. So should we miss our throw with Knife Trick, then we can dodge and refund it. So having it around a 70 to a 100 is going to allow you to pretty much get close to a full charge. A 100 should refund your entire throwing knife charge. Now speaking of throwing knives, you're going to want Knife Trick on. Knife Trick is just personally the best one, honestly, especially for this type of a build. So you're going to want to leave Knife Trick on and use that one. Then for your grenade, you're going to want Healing Grenade. Healing Grenade is how we're going to be able to get Restoration and technically Cure as well. This is why we want Healing Grenade, because we don't have any other method on currently to get Restoration. This is going to help us stay alive. Now for the aspects, we're going to start with the most important one, Knock 'em Down. Knock 'em Down is going to make our Blade Barrage launch more projectiles. And while Radiant, final blows with our throwing knife will fully refund our melee energy. This is how we're going to get so many knife throws. Every kill is going to refund it. And you'll see why when it says while Radiant, how we're going to get Radiant in just a second. You probably can already see it, but we'll get to it when we get to it. And our second aspect is going to be Gunpowder Gamble. So getting about 6 kills is going to charge up a solar explosive. Shooting it midair or letting its fuse go out will cause an ignition on the spot. It's a nice little way to get a bonus little damage, and especially since we lose our grenade because we're using healing grenade, we're going to actually get a damaging grenade thanks to gunpowder gamble. Now for the fragments, we're going to start with Ember of Solace. This is going to make our radiant and restoration effects have increased duration. And we're going to pair that with Ember of Empyrean. Ember of Empyrean is going to make it so that solar weapon or ability final blows extend the duration of restoration and radiant effects applied to us. This is how we're going to upkeep radiant and restoration once we apply them to ourselves. All we will have to do is get solar weapon or ability kills. And staying on that page is going to be Ember of Torches. Ember of Torches is going to make it so that powered melee attacks, aka our throwing knife, is going to make us radiant. This is why we will be getting radiant, and then we'll be able to upkeep it with Ember of Empyrean and Ember of Solace. And last but not least is going to be Ember of Singeing. Your class ability will recharge faster when you scorch targets. Our knife trick, our throwing knife, whatever you'd like to call it, will scorch enemies on a hit. This is how we're going to help get our dodge back faster than normal, so that way if we happen to miss a knife throw, we can go ahead and dodge, which will refund it so we can get our chain and our loop going on again. Now, of course, this build has some armor mods, so let's check them out. Starting here with the helmet, we're going to use a harmonic siphon. Since we are on solar and we should be using solar weapons, we don't need anything else but a harmonic siphon. I put on a super font and a heavy ammo finder. We're going to be generating a ton of orbs, and you'll see why in just a little bit. So I want a super font to get a nice plus 20 to my super stat, get a little more blade barrage damage, or if I was at about an 80 to 90 super, this would set me over a 100. So that is going to be a pretty nice one to have, and I want a heavy ammo finder just so I can get some heavy ammo. Now, of course, you can swap this to special if you want. You can swap this to ashes to acids. You can do anything you want. You can technically even swap the super font, but I prefer leaving it just like so. On the Shards of Galanor, we're going to run triple heavy-handed. If you didn't know, having 3 heavy-handed, 3 firepower, or 3 Reaper mods will make the cooldown be 0, basically. It is 1 second, but, you know, we're not really paying attention to all that. So this is going to allow you to generate an infinite amount of orbs, since we're going to be basically throwing an infinite amount of throwing knives. For our chest piece, go ahead and put on the resistance mods that match the activity that you're doing. If your damage type in your activity you're doing is a ton of arc, put on a bunch of arc mods. And you get the gist. For our legs, we're going to be used Better Already. You can swap this out for recuperation if you would like. Better Already is my personal favorite choice, so I leave that one on. And this one's nice because when you pick up an orb, it'll start your health regen, and you'll get a nice little chunk of health back, probably before you take a hit. Following that, we're going to use Solar Weapon Surge. Solar Weapon Surge is going to give us around a 10% bonus to solar damage while we have armor charge, so this is going to be pretty nice. And we're going to pair that with Absolution, so when we pick up an orb, all of our ability cooldowns will get reduced by a little bit. You can swap this if you would like for another Solar Weapon Surge. You can do that. This will make it around, I believe, a 17% bonus damage to all solar weapons. So that is also a good choice. And last but not least for armor mods is going to be our cape. We're going to use an outreach. This is going to help us get back a little energy to our melee ability, aka our throwing knives, when we use our dodge. Now, technically, you probably don't really need this, so you can put on bomber if you would like. Since I have around a 70 melee, outreach is just going to help me get back that little chunk I might be missing when I use my dodge. So I like to have a little outreach for a nice little extra bonus. Now, we're going to put on a class font as well to give ourselves a plus 20 to our class when we have armor charges. Since we're going to have so many orbs picked up, so many armor charges because of that, this is going to be a great choice because we're pretty much always going to have a plus 20 class. And with that, we're going to have Reaper as well, so that our next weapon final blow after dodging will spawn an orb. Now, because we're generating a ton of orbs from our infinite melees, and since we have infinite melees, you can swap this out for another class font if you want. For example, I'm at a 50 class, and now when I have an armor charge, I'm actually going to be at a 90. Since 2 fonts are a plus 40 stat, and 3 of them would be a plus 50. And last but not least, we have our artifact mods. Now this build does just as good without the artifact mods. You don't need them to make this build, but they definitely do enhance it a little bit. So let me show you which ones you're going to want to have on. So we're going to start up here with Fever and Chill. This is going to make us that rapid precision hits with solar weapons will grant you Radiant. This is going to help us get a little more upkeep on Radiant should things go south, and that's just pretty nice to have. Up next is going to be Elemental Benevolence. Granting allies an elemental buff will give you class ability energy. We're going to be able to give everybody literally every buff that we get, since our grenade will be able to be taken by other people to get restoration and cure, and our Facet of Dawn, which is going to give us Radiant, allows us to give it to nearby allies as well. So that is going to be a good reason to why we don't really not have a reason to have this on. As weird as that made that sound. So Elemental Benevolence is a great way because we're going to be giving elemental buffs out. Refresh Threads is also a pretty good option since we will be creating, thanks to Elemental Coalescence, some fire sprites. So picking up a fire sprite is going to give us some energy to our least charged ability. That's pretty nice. Of course, Elemental Coalescence is going to want to be on. This is going to make it so that when you defeat targets, we'll have a chance to create an elemental pickup matching our super. Since we're on solar, that's going to be a fire sprite. And in the last column, you're going to want Radiant Shrapnel. Dealing sustained weapon damage while radiant or defeating a scorched combatant with a weapon will cause the target to release solar projectiles that deal damage and scorch on impact. This is good as long as you're just obviously using your solar weapon. This is going to be a pretty good option. Now, if you're running a lower power thing where you don't have to use a weapon at all, you can swap this one out for Elemental Overdrive if you want. But no matter what, you're probably going to want Shield Crush on. This is going to make so that while you have Radiant, your grenade will recharge faster. This is going to help us get back our healing grenades just to get our restoration set back up should things go south yet again. So this will be a pretty nice one to have. Now you can also take this one off and maybe have Radiant Shrapnel on if you want. These are the three that I would say to choose between. And you can only have two, so you'll have to choose. If you know you aren't going to really be getting that much weapon damage used, then put on Shield Crush and Elemental Overdrive. Maybe you just don't really feel the appeal that you need increased damage with Elemental Overdrive since we have Solar Weapon Surges on. So swap that one to Radiant Shrapnel. It's kind of up to you which three of these you want. So that is going to be everything you need to recreate this build. As you can see, you'll be able to just throw an infinite amount of knives. You'll instantly get your knives back. It is just a really, actually, it's honestly a lot of fun. This build is a lot of fun, as well as it is good. So if you're looking for a build like this that's extremely fun to use and extremely good and a bunch of content, then why not get this build right now? And if you love Solar Hunter, you love throwing the knives and everything, then why not use it today? So with all that being said, that is everything for this video. Let me know in the comments below what you think about this build. And while you're down there, if you like the video and you want to see more, why not hit the like button, subscribe, comment, share, all that good jazz, because it tells me you want to see more build videos. With all of that, I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. And as always, I will see you around the tower.